All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it. We're thrilled to have Tigerpaw here with us. Tigerpaw has been a phenomenal partner with TAG over all these years. Tigerpaw is our longest standing strategic partner, dating back even prior to the existence of TAG, with Dale Stein and others, obviously, in our organization. And we're thrilled to have the Tigerpaw team here with us. We're thrilled to have everyone here with James and Joel, and we're going to share with you the title here, which is Loyalty Pricing Update and Product Roadmap. So we're excited to have James spend time with all of us and take us through the great things to come with Tigerpaw, and we appreciate their time and the partnership that we share with Tigerpaw and all of your time as well. So thank you, James.
Brian, thank you so much. Can you guys see the first slide?
Oh, and I want to mention we have Trevor from Tigerpaw.
But you guys want me to move back?
Yes, we have Trevor and Joel with us as well. Can everybody see the first slide, the title slide?
Yep.
Yes.
You're good.
Perfect. Then I'm going to jump right in. The first thing I want to start with is I just want to thank you all, not just for being here and yet another Zoom meeting. I know, Mike, exactly how you feel. But I want to thank you guys for your partnership. As Tag mentioned, we've been partners with Tag. It's interesting, you kind of say before Tag was Tag. And many of you we've been partners with for decades, literally decades. Probably did business with my father 20, 25 years ago. And it's still amazing to me that we've got partners that we've been with for that long. And I think you guys know us by now that it isn't just a business transaction, it's a relationship. You know, when Tag has all their shows, we send a lot of people to shows, probably more than we send to any other show. Why? Because of the longstanding partnership we have with Tag and with you as members. You know, it's important to us to be there to answer questions, to train, to take feedback and on how we can do things better, you know, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful relationship for a very long time. So I'm just grateful for that, right? And thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to hear what we have to say and kind of see where we're going as a company. It's very important to us. So let's talk about the agenda. So today we're going to talk a bit about the pricing history of Tigerpaw. You know, the loyalty pricing that everybody's on is changing. We have a price increase. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're going to be talking about in addition to the roadmap. And it's important to understand, you know, what we're doing and why we're doing it and how it impacts you and how we can try to minimize that impact. So we'll start out talking about kind of the pricing history, the need for change, why we're doing what we're doing. Talk about what the new pricing structure looks like, the new loyalty pricing. We also want to share with you our roadmap for 2021 and talk about what's coming up in the future. And then we're going to open it up for questions at the end. So it'd be easier, I think, if we take questions all at the end. But if you've got a burning desire to ask something, we'll certainly try to watch for you to raise your hand and see if we can jump right in. So let's talk about the history of Tigerpaw, right? Those of you that have been with us for a long time, we started with a modularized component situation, right? You may remember pursuit, quote, sales and service, or excuse me, parts and service. Parts was the inventory control. We had a mobile solution that was $20 a month. We had add-ons, email connector. We had, you know, exchange integrator. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And quite honestly, when people came on board, it was like you needed a Ouija board and org chart to figure out what to buy, right? And people all over had different things. They had different licenses for different people, and they had some add-ons and not others. And we did that for a very, very long time. In 2016, Mike, when you were talking about being on stage, it's been 5 years. 5 years since we launched Tigerpaw One, and that was our new product and our new pricing at $65 per seat. Before the Tigerpaw One launch, our pricing had been consistent for about 15 years. You know, one of the things about Tigerpaw and valuing our partners, it's never been about squeezing every dime of revenue we can get out. It's about having a symbiotic relationship of providing value and being paid and moving the company forward, right? Everything we've done since 1984, that's when we were founded, has been focused on taking care of our clients. And really, Tigerpaw One was part of that philosophy. So we did two things with Tigerpaw One. First of all, the platform became an all-in-one, right? So you got all the add-ons, you got all the modules, you got mobile, the portals, everything that we offered all together for one price. We were no longer piecemealing it out. And we ended up offering discounts as high as 70% for many of our partners and many of you, which was a substantial discount, right? So why did we do that? Well, there's a couple reasons. First of all, we recognized that our clients had invested in perpetual licensing. There was a general feeling of ownership, right? And we moved to subscription, and we were asking people to give up the ownership to subscribe with the software. And the reality is we had to do this, right? To be a viable software company back in 2016, we were really late to the game and moving over to subscription. No different than you guys moving to recurring revenue, right? And I know that's a big thing Tag teaches and everybody talks about. It had to happen. But from our perspective, and again, knowing that a lot of these relationships are like family to us, we said, how can we do this that is, is palatable to our partners? How do we do it and not take advantage of our partners? I know a lot of companies, when they made the transition, they just said, hey, the old product is dead and now it's, it's X dollars per month, good luck. And we said, that's just doesn't fit our, our core values of taking care of our partners. So what we did is we rolled everything into one. So pretty much everybody that moved to Tigerpaw One got way more product than they ever had before. And we essentially matched the pricing of our maintenance. So when you guys remember LiveBridge, which was an annual maintenance, that's roughly the price that Tigerpaw One was. So the product started at $65 per seat for new users, but we didn't do that to any of our existing partners. Everybody that we worked with was really close to their LiveBridge price. In fact, it's kind of weird, but some of our Tigerpaw One partners actually ended up paying less than they were paying for mobile alone after the transition. And that was based on scale, the deal that you might have worked with my father 20 some years ago. And we try to honor all that. And many of you on the call are probably in the $20 range, the $25 range. And again, mobile alone was $20. But we said, look, we want to make this palatable. We want to support our partners in this transition. We want to thank you for helping move forward with us. And we want to buy back your perpetual licenses. And in many cases, we've bought those perpetual licenses back with the discount, sometimes as 5 or 7 times over. When we launched that pricing, that was 5 years ago, we had no intention to raise the pricing at the time. It's been 5 years since we changed it. There was no thought about how many times would it buy back, how long would it go. It's just, let's make this palatable, let's help our partners, and let's move forward. It's kind of weird. We've gotten ourselves into a spot. We've got a lot of customers that tell us they're carrying a half a dozen licenses they're not even using because the pricing is so low. And obviously, if our pricing is at the point where people can pay us and not use it, that tends to pose a challenge. So the $65, we gave discounts for the existing trade-in licenses, but I will tell you, everybody got $65 a month per user for new user pricing. And that was consistent across the board with our client base. No matter scale, it just was 65. So if you've added seats with us since you've been on Tigerpaw One, you added them at 65. That's kind of the history of the pricing. So in early 2020, we changed our list price to $85 per seat. And by the way, nobody here is going to $85. I don't want to cause a heart attack, right? Again, you guys are partners and you're valuable. I want to talk to you about what we're doing special for you and how we're going to help make that transition. But the reality is we get $85 by new customers. In fact, we convert ConnectWise customers over, and at $85 a seat, they're actually thanking us for their cost savings. So the pricing in the environment out there has changed with Autotask and ConnectWise and all the competitors. The value of what we produce has continued to gone up. The competition has gone up, and we adjusted for new customers in that way, but not with our existing clients. So we're not going to take it 85. I'll talk to you about where we're going, but I want you to understand the pricing progression and why we did what we did, which is really about the need to move our business forward, but the desire to take care of our partners and to treat them as special and as best as we can. So why are we changing our pricing now? Being very simple and being transparent. One thing I love about Tag and Dale and Brian and the other Dales, we always put reality on the table, right? We cannot develop at the pace demanded by our partners without being paid a fair market value for the product. And $25 a month, which is barely more than what mobile was, it doesn't fund it. And I'll tell you how we've been investing. We have added 50% to our development staff in the last 3 months alone. We are putting substantial investments into the product. We want to be relevant. We want to build for you the best software that you can imagine. We want to fulfill your needs and create your integrations and do all the things that you want us to do. And in order to do that, we've got to be paid a market rate to invest in all the resources behind it. And again, that's not just with Tag, which it's with every customer that we had when we moved over to Tigerpaw One. It is time for us to retire that really, really deep discount that paid back for perpetual licenses and move forward. So what is our new pricing model? If you're not a Tag member, it's $65 a seat. What we decided for our existing client base is that 65 is what people were used to paying for new users. We're not going to take the 85, it's the 65. We've already worked with Tag to say the base price for Tag members is 60. That's the top. So nobody here pays more than $60 per seat. But we also have additional discounts that we've built based on a number of things. So seat count, that matters, right? Volume matters. I would imagine it's similar in some of the business that you guys do. And the other is relationships. You know, Mike, you've been on stage with me and you've helped me push the product. We've got people like Kelly that are referrals, and they'll get on the phone with prospects. That has tremendous value and meaning to us. I mean, that is relationship. So everybody, those are the things that will adjust those prices down even further. So for anybody not in Tag, it's 65 bucks. And there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. That's just what it is, unless you've got big quantities. But if you're a Tag member, we start at 60, but we'll work down from there. And the additional seat additions, they're still going to be $65. You know, this wasn't even a thought for us. We could have easily said, oh, we're going to, anything new, it's 85. That's the new list price. But we decided, again, wanting to take care of our existing clients and appreciating the people that got us here, we're going to keep that at 65 for new users. So nobody here in Tag, none of our existing clients, in fact, that moved over from perpetual to subscription are going to be paying 85 for new licenses. That's strictly new clients that have come on board after we made that price change. And then we've also got step-up pricing. So understanding this is going to be a jump for many of our partners, and perhaps hadn't planned for it in the budget, and we understand budgeting, we get it. So, based on the size of the jump, and we're going to have one-on-one conversations with you and your customer advocate, right? We want to have a dialogue. We want to talk this through. We want to show you the numbers and have a conversation, but realize we do have step-up pricing available for multi-year commitment. So in other words, if you're still invested with Tigerpaw as a partner, and and it's a big price jump, and you're willing to say, I'll be with you guys for 2 or 3 months, then, or excuse me, 2 or 3 years, then we will work on a step-up pricing to get you there. So it's not such a sticker shock as it occurs. That's really important to us. Again, we have to do this. It's important for our company. It is important for our partners. If we don't charge the appropriate fee, we will never be able to build all the stuff that we want to build for you and the things that you're asking for. And we understand you want more integrations. You want more automation. I mean, we got the list and we know what it is. And so we're investing in that growth, and that's what this is funding. The new loyalty pricing, by the way, it's effective on your contract renewal date. So what we've done to make this easy, and again, the customer advocate will work with you, is we have an addendum. It's a one-page contract. It's a simple addendum. And there's a couple reasons. One is we wanted this simple for you. The other is, if you were to come on board with Tigerpaw today, our new customers have contract terms that are not nearly as favorable as what you have. So for example, many of you know we have a 5% annual increase on the rate, up to 5%. New contracts are at 7%. We don't want to change you to 7%. So we're keeping that at 5%. Again, we're keeping the $65 new user ad. There's some minimums and things that are more advantageous for our existing clients than new clients. And so by doing an addendum, we don't have to go with the whole new contract, which changes a bunch of things. It's just really about changing the base pricing is what it comes down to. And if you sign that addendum, just realize, we're trying to work with Tag to see how can we get everybody to move forward as a group, right? And we're even talked about maybe some incentives and things we can do to Tag with the organization and the members, if we can do that versus having dialogues for the next 12 months. I just want you to know, if you sign that addendum early, your price increase doesn't occur until your renewal date. So if your renewal date is January of next year, but you sign the addendum today, it's not until January that any of the pricing changes or the step-up pricing would occur. I just want to be very clear with that. We're honoring the contracts that you've got, right? We're not going to be changing what you're paying based on your existing contract. And I'm going to open this up for questions after we go through the roadmap, because I kind of like to take them all as a whole. But I took the opportunity, since we've had a lot of dialogue with clients on some of the common questions that we get asked. And so I wanted to just go through those before we jump into the roadmap and talk about what we're building and where we're going. One is, what happened to the promise of never raising prices? That's been thrown out a couple times. When we went to Tigerpaw 1, there was a huge concern that we were doing a bait and switch, right? I mean, some might say now, oh, this is a bait and switch, the price is going up. Well, it's 5 years. 5 years, folks. I mean, to me, that's a very long time for us to hold that pricing, right? But there was a concern that in 12 or 24 months, we'd turn around and rewrite those contracts and raise everybody's prices. We didn't do that. We had no intention to do that. We don't have intentions to do that after this, but we've never made a promise we wouldn't raise prices. I mean, that's just, as a company, we can't do that, just like I would imagine you wouldn't do that. So there may be some misunderstandings, but if you feel like that was ever said to you, we'd love to have a conversation about it. Something else people say is, I don't use all the Tigerpaw. Can I just pay for what I use? This was part of the move to Tigerpaw One. Is we want our partners to be successful. We want you to be successful. What we've learned over the years is the partners that embrace the most of the product are the ones that tend to also have the most successful businesses, right? If you're simply using us for ticketing, I can see where you might say that $65, I don't want to pay that just for ticketing. What I would say is we've got a customer advocate team. We have a help desk, right? An 800 help desk. We've got a training and implementation team. We've got to ask the experts. Where our competitors will sell you a product and move on and you almost can't even talk to somebody, we invest heavily in people and resources. We'd love to have a dialogue with you about what are you using and what are you not using, and how can we get you there with the value. And that's one of the cool things that I liked about going into an all-in-one is, you guys probably remember, some of you, the old days when the account managers, they were your help point, but they were also a salesperson, right? And the feeling is, oh, they only call me if they've got something to sell me. With Tigerpaw One, we moved away from that. We have customer advocates, and they don't have product to sell, right? So it's about a conversation of, no, you've already got everything. How can we help you use it? So we'd love to engage in that conversation about how do we get you getting the value out of the product. But we are definitely not going to go back to our old model, which was piecing it out and breaking up into modules. And another question is, well, what if I don't want to pay more? Well, that's a valid question. What I will say is, none of the contracts now will auto renew at their renewal date, right? That's the notice that we've put out and what we're talking about today. If you choose not to go forward with us, we're not going to twist your arm. We'd love to have a conversation, but if you don't sign the addendum, the contract at your renewal date, which could be February of next year, we'll stop billing you and the product will stop working. That's just, it's as simple as that. Again, we'd love to have a conversation before we let that happen, but we're not, there's nothing here or nothing in our language that is forcing this on you. It has to be a choice. And what if I want to go month to month? We hear that occasionally. We don't do month-to-month contracts. We do annual contracts. And the reason we do that is we build out a very comprehensive operational budget in December. Who we're hiring, the positions that we're filling, all so that we can take care of you guys, right? Staffing up support. I mentioned we've added 50% of the development staff. All that is based on annual contracts so we can budget. And a month-to-month contract simply does not allow us with confidence to make those decisions. Like I'll tell you, for example, staying on transparency, since many of us were business owners, I have approved a deficit budget for 2021. In other words, we are operating on a small loss for the year because I've authorized my team to invest in more people and more tools to provide better services for all of you guys. Now, we've got cash, we're not going to die, but our intent this year is not profitability. Our intent is to staff up to produce more value, right? We think that there's a real opportunity for us to do that, to get quality people, and that's what we're investing in. So the annual contracts allow us to make those kind of decisions. We couldn't. So month to month is just not something we have available. And then this question comes up, well, how do I know this? You won't do this again in a year? And this is very similar to when we would Tigerpaw One. How do I know you're not going to change my prices in a year? I tell you, we can't guarantee anything, right? I mean, nothing is forever, but let me tell you, it's 5 years from our last price increase when we moved to Tigerpaw One. Those of you that moved early, tremendous value over those 5 years. This product process of changing out our pricing is a year-long project for our company. It is a massive undertaking. It's uncomfortable. We understand for you guys in changing your budgets. It's uncomfortable for our team. We're doing everything we can to remember that there's people involved, that you're all, human beings and friends of ours, and as well as the business relationship. We have zero intent to go through this again anytime in the near future. I mean, we've already looked at the numbers and budget this out a good 3 to 5 years. If we wanted to do something different, we would either charge more now or we'd build the step ups in the contract. We have no intention to do that. This is a necessary adjustment to get rid of the buyback pricing, which, again, down in the 20s or even in the teens, and move to a pricing model that's more still, by the way, a full Tigerpaw suite for what we do is about $150 a month. Some of you looked into it. It's incredibly expensive. So we're still way, way under from a price perspective, but this number allows us to offer loyalty pricing to our clients, to treat them fairly or more, better than fairly if we can, and still be able to fund the things that we want to do for all of you. Because that's what we want to do. We want to provide value. Our mission since '84, help you be successful, right? And that's why we staff up a support team and we have a training department. A lot of things that we could cut out if it was about profitability, but we want you using it. We want you happy and we want you successful. So those are the key questions I get. And again, we'll open it up at the end after we do the product roadmap. But we understand the sensitivity of this situation. I know that TAG teaches also raise your prices, right? I know Dale will say raise them to what the market will bear. It sounds a lot like my dad. I think Dale and my dad are cut from the same cloth. And that's a great approach in general. It's what we're doing on new. We don't want to do that to you guys. We value the relationship. We value the loyalty and how long we've been together. So we're not raising it to what the market will bear, but we absolutely have to remove the old pricing model and move to this new pricing structure. So again, please, if you got questions, love to address them, but let's jump into the product roadmap and let's talk about what we're building and what we're working on, because that will also help give you context. Again, we'd love for this to be even more. We've got a lot of integrations that we're talking to right now, and we're talking to Lion Guard. We've got a number of them, and we're trying to prioritize. And I guess I've got to get ahead of myself on that. So Trev, I'm going to turn this over to you. Trev is our new VP of Customer Success. We've shaken some things up on our leadership team, everybody, in an effort to find some really quality people to help move this forward. And Trev's been working with us on and on, I think, for about a year. And so he's involved heavily with the product roadmap. So I'm going to let him answer or discuss what we're doing right now with the upcoming 2 releases that we're working on. And then I'll talk a little bit about the future direction, and then we can open it up for questions. Trev, are you ready to jump in?
I'm ready, James, and thanks for the introduction. And just wanted to reiterate what James had mentioned about how we've added to development team, even in the leadership of the development team. So we've got some very structured releases, which some of you in the past may not be as familiar with in Tigerpaw. And I've only been here a year, but I've heard that maybe our releases were a little less structured in the past. We have very firm release dates. We have a very firm product roadmap. And the product roadmap we'll be talking about the details of. We've built it based on feedback from some of you specifically and from our customer base. So we've gone through our backlog, we've gone through our feature requests and said, what do our customers want and need? And we put this roadmap together. So from a timing perspective, we have Tigerpaw Unleashed, which is in beta right now. We have some existing customers that are converting, and we have some new customers, excuse me, that are in beta. In version 21.1.
Trev, everybody in this call may not be familiar with what Tigerpaw Unleashed is. So if I can add a clarity to that, and I'm glad you also mentioned the leadership team, right? One of the things at Tigerpaw we've done is added some new middle management layers that we hadn't had on our development side. So, I mean, we are absolutely working on scaling up to create more output. Tigerpaw Unleashed is actually Tigerpaw in the cloud. So we have made changes to our underlying architecture, and we are doing this based on Microsoft Azure's platform. So any of you that have been wanting to move your Tigerpaw off of your server onto our cloud, that is what this product is. And we've got a number of clients that are on it. We haven't brought this forward to our existing partners yet. This has been mostly offered on new sales. Simply the reason is you guys are all humming and running, and we didn't want you to be guinea pigs, right? So we are actually working on a QuickBooks Online integration. We're very excited for the product, and that's, I know, going to be a critical piece for a number of people that want to move. So if in the dialogue you want to look at moving to the Azure platform with Tigerpaw, we can talk about that as well and still extend those loyalty discounts off of the Unleashed pricing. So we'd love to talk about that, but that's what the Tigerpaw Unleashed product is. Thank you, Trev.
No, thanks for adding that color, James. And all the features we're going to talk about in the next 2 releases will be available both in the desktop product and in Unleashed as well. So we've got 21.1 coming out in May and 21.2 coming out in October. And we're committing going forward to essentially 2 releases per year, essentially kind of, end of Q2, start of Q4 each year based on the feedback we get from customers and the feature requirements. And then James will touch on past version 21.2 a little bit at the end of our presentation.
Yeah, just real quickly, that's end of Q1, beginning of Q4.
Yeah, thanks. I just meant going forward, they might not always be the exact same months, so they'll be in that space typically. Thanks, Joel.
And by the way, I would also say, if you haven't paid attention, or maybe you've delegated to somebody else to keep your Tigerpaw current, we've had a number of really good things in the last couple of years in the releases. but we know not all of our clients pay attention and download and install the latest. That's one of the kickers on subscription. You're paying for us to innovate. We're innovating. So I would definitely encourage you to make sure, maybe even have a conversation with the customer advocate. Let's make sure you're leveraging all the stuff that you're paying for, because we cranked out a lot of code, particularly in 19. We put a lot of stuff out in 19. So continue to innovate, and these are the next ones. Trev, you want me to move forward?
Yeah, if you could move forward. And on that note, James, too, I just want to say, so I'm going to talk about a lot of features here. They may not apply to your business. They may apply to your business very specifically. I'd be happy to set up one-on-one meetings with your organization and your other team members to talk about how they could apply to your businesses after this call too. So please, again, feel free to reach out to your customer advocate or to me directly. Happy to go over them specifically with you.
And we're hitting the highlights. There's still a lot of other things that we're building, but we decided to keep this fairly concise rather than give you a full laundry list of all the changes.
So getting into the first couple, could you hit the second one too, James, because these two are kind of related. So price book item groups and related price book items. So we're making some changes in the price book to give you some more control over A, how you're dispatching technicians, and B, how you're reporting on your customer assets. So we're adding things like models, parts, and consumables as specific groups. So right now you've got categories and subcategories, and you've got assemblies that you can create. So what we're doing is actually creating specific models. So within the manufacturer's table, you've got models. So you may have a certain type of telephone system, a certain type of server. You can actually identify the model so that you can say, oh, these technicians only work on these products. And identifying the product with a model type gives you that flexibility. And then from a reporting perspective, you can then run reports on technician efficiency and customer profitability to say, hey, you know what? We're doing a lot more service calls on these models of products. I wonder why that is. Maybe I need to train my technicians differently. Maybe we need to educate our customers, give them some more training. So it gives you a lot more control over your customer asset fleet. And then the related price book items allows you to relate any price book item to another item. A typical scenario would be relating a part to a model. So when you're creating quotes and you've got, okay, I want to create a quote for this model, I only want to see the additional accessories that are related to that model. So it allows you to streamline your quoting process. And when you're creating parts on SOs, on service orders, it allows you to know these parts only go with these models. So it allows you to really streamline your operations and be more efficient when you're creating new service orders and your service administrators are going through their day-to-day business.
So this is really key, because this is on the service and the quote side, guys. I know a lot of you struggle with, I have to put everything into an assembly or somebody's going to screw this up when they quote it. This is now moving away from having to do that. So, if you're selling a certain unified communication system, right, you want to say, here's the 3 types of handsets that go with it. You don't have to put all those in the assembly. You'll be able to, from the quote or the ticket, say, okay, I am quoting this particular item. What other items do I have that go with this that I can quote and sell? So it's a way to relate these items to easily find them. For our managed print friends, for example, it's not, if you guys are in doing that, you might have a multifunction printer and there's 6 different toner cartridges that are supported. So building assemblies for all the permutations for all the hardware that you do, or it's a server that you might have 3 different hard drives you want to put in there. Right now, having to build that entire assembly and then zero some items out and put one for others, that's a lot of work, right? And the idea is to reduce that amount of time. So you can just go, I'm going to quote this server. What else do we got? Oh, I got these 4 options that can go with it. Let's put those on the quote or the ticket.
Yeah, that's a great point, James. It allows for a little more data integrity too, versus creating multiple assemblies just to have those combinations available so that you can quote and create SOs for them. So it allows you to allow your database to be a little bit cleaner. So the Easy Order Wizard. So this is kind of a little bit of a hybrid between quick sale and creating a full-on service order. So this is actually a streamlined service order process. So you have far fewer steps to go through to create kind of a quick sale, but it still gives you all of the control over allocating your inventory properly, allocating your technicians properly. So it's a really streamlined workflow. So in a lot less steps, you can create a full-on SO. A lot of times it will be, adding material to it to create more kind of like a quick sale, but it allows you to really, again, improve your efficiency and get more orders out the door in a day. And asset location support, this is something we just haven't had specifically. You may have been using custom fields to identify where a customer asset is in their location, Well, we have a very specific field for it now. So when you're dispatching your technicians to go work on this server, go work on this telephone, well, we know that they're going to the telephone in the server room on the second floor beside John's office. So you can identify that. So if you're shipping parts out for your technicians to be servicing them, if you're shipping direct to the customer, you can identify the exact location of that asset, and you can dispatch your technicians so they know when they're going on site, they know specifically where the location of that asset is.
This is definitely a challenge that we wanted to solve for some of the larger Tigerpaw users that are supporting, from a managed services perspective, they're supporting, for example, a company that's maybe taking 3 floors in a building, right? And sending a guy to the front desk and he's trying to figure out where I got to go. It's a big challenge. So we're very excited to have that one in there. And
Yeah.
I saw a little bit of the thunder on this one already.
Yeah, that's okay. So, and then some of the themes, our main themes for these 2 releases are improving your customer's experience and automation to make you more efficient. So the customer experience, again, think about if you're sending out your technicians and they don't have to go there and ask, hey, I've got a service call for this thing. Can you tell me where it is? If they already know, it improves your customer's experience. They're like, hey, I need to get to the second floor to work on this device. My system told me where to go. So again, improving the overall experience. And yes, James already hinted at the QB Online integration. So full integration with QuickBooks Online. Again, it's just it's our path to move to the cloud. So it's this is helping us get there.
And I would like to point out here, because many of you use the real-time integration from Acteon. This is not being developed by Acteon. This is being developed internally. We will control, write, and update this code. And we're not going to charge for it. Like the real-time integration with QuickBooks right now from Acteon is a paid product from Acteon. Again, in the spirit of Tigerpaw 1, those of you that want to use QuickBooks Online, and this is a real-time, it's not a batch, there's going to be no cost to our partners to be able to do that. And we will continue to control it so we can innovate it.
James. And Alexa, and you know what? I'm actually going to let you take this one, James. You're passionate.
Okay, this is exciting. We're going to be releasing a tech preview because what we want to do is find out from all of you the value you might find in Alexa. I mean, the reality is we use voice in so much today, but it hasn't filtered down in the business world. And the problem that we'd like to solve is, how often are you in a conference room and you want to make a decision on something, but you don't have the data, right? And somebody takes it, if you're a traction shop, you take it to do in the level 10 meeting to go do the homework and get the data out to everybody, or you as owners or managers might be traveling and you want to know what's going on in your business. Or maybe you're a service manager and you want to know if a tech's available at a certain time, but it requires that I got to log in the product and I've got to run a report. The idea is using Alexa, and if we roll forward as a full product, multi-stage. The first is getting data. The idea is that you can just ask, I've got a device right in front of me. I got them all over my house, just to be able to ask a question of your business, right? What was my tech utilization for last week? How much did we bill last week, right? Business level questions and department level questions, and then ending up moving more into an active where you can give directives to the Amazon device and it would actually do things, send emails, send notifications, schedule things. So we have built the technology to do this, and we're going to make it available at no cost. It's not a full featured product, but again, we want to see how you guys use it and the questions that you ask it to see if there's a real possibility there. But I will tell you, getting data out of just asking with your voice is so much simpler than logging into an app and running reports or going to a matrix. So it's pretty cool. But like I said, it's a tech preview. But again, we try to take a small piece of what we're doing and think innovation and think future. How can we use the technology that's out there to better your business today? And that's part of that approach.
James, do you want to talk about how we built that with the Rake School?
Sure. Yeah. So one of the challenges with innovation like that is how do we put in development resources into that when we also got other features that customers are asking for, right? Because you might go, why would you work on the Alexa integration? We are very fortunate in Nebraska, the University of Nebraska, where I'm sending 2 kids there right now. They have the Rakes School, all right? That's what they call it. And it's named after Jeffrey Rakes, who was one of the early guys in Microsoft and worth a fortune. And he funds this school. And pretty much every student there has got a perfect ACT. They're involved in extra activities and they literally, the first floor is all the classrooms and the second and third floor are dorms. And you can actually hire them and they will take on a project for a semester with the higher level students. And we found it is a phenomenal way. And you guys, if you have projects like that, I encourage you to talk to your local university because it's usually managed by a teacher. But it's a nice way for a little bit of investment to have some people really dig into a technology and build some things. So they're doing that right now. In the slide in the future, I'm going to talk a little bit about mobile. We have a new product coming out in mobile. They're also doing some really cool technology in that, but I'll wait till we get to that slide. Joel, is that what you wanted me to hit?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, cool.
All right, so now in our 21.2 release, which is coming out in October, we are going full steam ahead with automation. So we always talk at Tigerpaw about making your business more efficient, making it easier for you to do things, to service your customers and whatnot. So we are we're getting on the automation train and going full steam ahead. So the first one I'm going to talk about is auto replenish inventory or auto inventory replenishment. So if you have current warehouses, they could be physical warehouses, you've got your main warehouse, you've got different warehouses, you've got your technician truck stock, potentially van stock, you might have some virtual warehouses. So if any of you are using Smart Order or familiar with it, it allows you to set up min max levels for your inventory, for your parts. So you might have high moving parts that your technicians always use. Your technicians in their trucks might have high moving parts. You can set minimums for those. So if you get below those minimums, Smart Order will tell you, hey, you should probably replenish those because your technician is going to need those, or you're going to need them in your warehouse. Well, we're taking that a step further now to say when we identify those thresholds, we're now going to actually automatically create the PO based on business rules that you're going to have in the system to say that you might use through the purchasing order wizard to say, I want the cheapest vendor, I have my preferred vendors, whatever your business rules are, we're going to say, I need 2 of those and 2 of those in that warehouse. I need 3 of those in that technician's truck stock. At the end of the day, instead of telling someone, hey, you should go in and create a PO, we're going to create the PO automatically, send that PO right to your vendor, as long as it's a supported vendor. So we don't support every vendor under the sun, but we do supply 22 suppliers out of the gate. So a lot of the big ones, the Ingrams and the Tech Datas and the Synexes of the world. So we support most of the big ones. We'll send that PO right to them, and we'll get the automated shipment notification back and put the tracking number right into Tigerpaw. So your technician or your customer will know when that part or that accessory is going to be delivered, so you can schedule your dispatching properly or more efficiently. So we're automating all of this. If you're not using auto inventory replenishment, the automated PO and ASN process still exists. So you could go through creating a PO manually through the purchasing order wizard, and it will still send that information to the vendor if they're supported and get the information back. So it takes out the step of someone emailing something to your vendor and then getting a response from them and then doing something with it. That something would typically be getting a tracking number because you want to know when it's going to arrive. That's going to go right into Tigerpaw. So we're really excited about this, and this is going to take a lot of manual steps out of your day-to-day process of fulfilling service orders when you're ordering material, whether it's drop shipping directly to customers or just fulfilling your own warehouses. And auto tech assignment, I'd mentioned in the 21.1 release, we're adding in things like models and parts to our price book. So auto tech assignment, we're allowing you to automate how you're assigning your techs based on different criteria. So some of you may be familiar with the expertise section in your rep profile. So you could say, these technicians, I only want them working on these models because they're higher end models, or they're just trained on those, or they have certifications on those. So based on the way, whichever method you get your SO's input from, it could be emails that come in through the email integrator. It could be phone calls. Once you put in the information, the SO, you can build in rules. So it will say, I know that based on this geographic territory and based on this SLA and based on my tech's availability and his expertise, it's going to go to this tech. So again, takes out the step of having a dispatcher manually decide, oh, I always know to send this tech to this customer to work on that product. If that dispatcher is not in that day, your system's still making that decision for you. So a lot of these automation pieces are designed so you can take your business rules, the rules that you manage your business by, put them into the system so you're not relying on human beings to make those decisions on every SO. And auto invoicing for contract service orders. So if you have recurring revenue and you have recurring contracts and service contracts that have things like labor and parts included in the contract, right now in Tigerpaw, it's not the easiest thing in the world to invoice your service orders because you have to go in and kind of touch it and zero it out sometimes. So right now, or in version 21.2, you'll be allowed to set in rules to say, every time I create an SO for a contracted asset, so that customer asset is under contract, I know that I'm not going to bill the labor. I still want to invoice it because once I invoice it, it transfers my costs and my burden rate from my tech into cost of goods sold and gets posted to accounting. I want that to happen. So I still have to invoice it, but I don't want to have to go in and actually invoice it. So the system will then go say, all the contract invoices or all the $0 invoices, just run on a scheduled task and invoice them automatically. So we've had some customers already tell us this will literally save them hours a day of processing time to just bill SOs so that they can track costs and parts costs and labor costs for their service contracts.
Yeah, this is huge because a lot of times even an RMM is generating tickets in Tigerpaw just because you want the history, right? You want to know what happened, but then you manually got to go to each of those and zero them out and deal with them before you can invoice them. And all of those now will be swept and you won't have to touch them. So I agree with you. For a lot of our MSP clients in particular, there's a lot of time savings going to come out of that.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing up the RMM too, because I should have touched on that in the auto tech assignment, James, too, because you've got RMM sending in alerts. You will know that based on the type of alert that comes in, which tech to assign. So again, you're not relying on a dispatcher to go, oh, this based on this type of alert, we can handle this remotely. This one's a firmware upgrade. This one's something else. You can have the system automate that too. So thanks for mentioning that, James. And on the customer storefront, so we're pretty excited. So hopefully many of you are using our employee portal and our customer portal. So on the customer portal, you can, your customers can create SOs and they have visibility of certain things, but we're taking that a step further and partnering with a third party to provide a full-on e-commerce storefront. So if you are selling anything to your external customers and you want to increase your web presence or your e-commerce presence, we'll have a full-on storefront. So, and the integration will be into Tigerpaw. So once they select whatever items they want, they'll know what price book items you've identified that you want to be selling to your customers on the web with the price level that you've assigned. So that will come right from Tigerpaw's price book. And then the SOs will be automatically created when they create the orders in the storefront. So a full-on integration. And equipment lifecycle tracking. So give your sales team visibility of things like refurbished, used, or off-lease items. So if you have customer assets that you self-finance, you bring them off lease. Maybe you've got stuff that's been on your storeroom floor, stuff that you've demoed.
Hardware as a service, stuff you take back.
Stuff you take back for sure. So again, hardware as a service that you want to be able to sell in that type of space. It allows you to assign different levels of tracking to the price book item instead of creating 15 different actual price book items. So this is the same actual item, but this one's used. This was a different item. This is this same price book item, but it allows you to track it differently and assign different costs and sell prices. And then your sales team can have visibility to say, hey, at the end of this quarter, let's try and sell the stuff that's come off of demo. Let's sell all our refurbished stuff this quarter. So it allows you to, again, to just to track your customer assets and your internal assets. And lease tracking and invoicing. So whether you're using a third-party leasing company or doing internal financing, we're going to give you some more options, a lot more flexibility around how you invoice your customers. So instead of creating multiple contracts, multiple agreements in Tigerpaw, you can have one agreement or contract that allow you to house the lease cost or the lease price in the contract so it can be on the same invoice. So in one invoice, you could say, here's the cost for all of these leased items. Here's the lease payment, and then here's the service cost on the same invoice. So it gives you a lot more flexibility around managing leases.
That's another feature we're excited about. I know that's been a missing piece for a number of people, and we built the integration with a different leasing company that Tag doesn't partner with now. So hopefully this is going to open up some doors to making that more efficient for all of you guys.
Yeah, a lot of these things too have been, we've figured out workarounds by creating multiple agreements and creating different ways of doing it. This is kind of bringing a lot of this together. And this again came from feedback that we've had from our customer base to say, geez, it'd be nice if we had a better way to manage this within the system versus this workaround that you've helped us with. But again, streamlines their operation and makes them more efficient. And finally, delivery management. So if you do have high touch customers if you have your own trucks, your own fleet, or just sometimes if you do deliveries to your own, to your customers, we'll have a different type of SO that will be created it'll basically create a delivery manifest. So you could have a technician or a specified driver goes out, he or she will have a bunch of SOs, but they'll be deemed as deliveries. and then that will trigger a different action within Tigerpaw Mobile where they can show it's been delivered, and then they can actually capture a signature. So it creates like a little kind of UPS or FedEx delivery system that you can track your deliveries in that same fashion.
Now I'm going to mention some of the stuff we've got upcoming. The timing is interesting to say, because like right now, 21.1 is code frozen, right? And I think the code frozen, what is it, Trev? Almost 60 days before release?
Yep.
That's correct.
Right. So like this 21.2, even though it's coming out roughly in October, this coding is far along and will be done well before that, which means we're starting on the stuff for next year in about 3 months. So if you're kind of wondering about the timing, I mean, it takes a long time to build the stuff and get it tested and then roll it out. Some of the stuff we're working on in the future, the quote to contract, basically the ability to quote recurring services. We should have that by now. It is a hole we need to fill, and we understand it. And we're looking at what is the most optimal way to build that into the product so that you can quote things that you might sell also on the same quote with recurring services that you might be billing monthly or semi-annually or annually, and be able to lay those all out as price book items, put them all in one quote. And then when you process that order, it would actually do all the appropriate things with them and not treat them as items that are a one-time sale. That also would change your sales forecasting as well, because we know it's a monthly or some sort of recurring service, whatever the time period might be. Key MSP integrations. I mentioned we're talking to Lion Guard. We've had a conversation with the big backup company recently, actually a couple of them, online security. I don't want to give you the names yet. We're also trying to work with key partners to understand, and it's one of the things we want to talk to Brian and Dale about. We need your voice on those. We are behind in integrations. It's one of the things that we want to change. It's one of the reasons we're doing our price increase. We're actually looking at adding staff that does nothing but integrations instead of trying to squeak those in. So we'll be getting feedback from you guys. In fact, the last one I talk about at Tigerpaw Advisory Board, I had a great conversation with Kelly Ethington the other day. She's asked to be on that. We're going to be putting together a special advisory group to help steer the development resources and where we go with it. So just understand a lot more integrations are in the pending queue. I just can't talk about them yet. I mentioned the enhanced mobile app. We're very excited about that be coming out hopefully later this year. But what we've done is we've built brand new from scratch, new native apps for both Android and iOS. But what we've tried to do is add a lot of new automation and modern functionality. For example, with COVID, I order DoorDash all the time. And it always, tells me when the DoorDash driver is picking up my food. It tells me when he's entered my neighborhood, and it tells me when, she's dropped off on my porch. We're building that geofencing functionality into our new mobile platform. So imagine when your technician leaves one customer site and Tigerpaw is smart enough to know they've left and know where their next one is, and it shoots a text message to your client or an email and says, hey, our technician just left. The estimated arrival is 15 minutes. And then when they cross that geofence at your customer location, to be able to say, hey, our technician is approaching, he's pulling into your parking lot right now. And then some of the functionality around that, for example, knowing when they're on site. I know some people have asked for audit logs. Was my tech really there? Well, the geofencing data allows us to be able to provide some of that. How long were they really on site? And actually be able to do some automation points about when they go into that geofence. Do you want to start the ticket, right? The timer right there. When they leave, do you want it to end right there? And those are options you'll have to decide if they make sense. But my point is, this isn't about just, how do we do what we've got in a new app? It's how do we take modern technology and approaches and things that are out there and bring that into this space so that our partners and our partners' clients get the benefit of that. And you can imagine with that geofencing, a lot of the cool stuff we can do, but even just the notifications, even the automatic notifications back to dispatch to tell the dispatcher, hey, our tech just pulled up, he's there. So there's some really, really cool stuff we're doing with that mobile. Another one is true costing. For those of you who do that big projects with lots of hardware, and then you're doing managed services on the back end of it, we have FIFO, LIFO. We have average costing, right? But what we don't truly have is true costing. For that situation where I've got to put a router in the client location, but my vendor just gave me a super big discount on that router. I'm only paying $200 instead of $2,000 for that router. Those situations, Tigerpaw says, I'm not sure what to do with it because your average cost is $2,000. This is a one-off. So we have been working behind the scenes on building in true costing. which should allow everybody who's doing these big projects to better manage them and also to squeeze more profitability and more accuracy out of the reporting on the true costing. And the other is automation. You know, like talking to Kelly, I mean, she was explaining some of the challenges she's got just from pure scale. For example, there's so many now recurring services that you might be offering, whether it's Office 365 and it's RMM and it's email security and it's antivirus, right? And all that can feed Tigerpaw and we can build, but there's still an awful lot of work that has to go in at times just to make sure that all the devices that get discovered, are they all being billed for? If I've got customers at multiple locations, am I properly, you know, measuring and managing and billing for all of the things that we're monitoring and resold them? So automating these things that are problem points, in particular, they're taking a lot of manual time to do. We are highly focused on those automation points. So, you know, Tigerpaw does an awful lot. Sometimes it makes you work a little too hard to do it, but it does it. And we're trying to figure out those key areas where how can we make it a lot less, where can we take the human being out of it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's the idea. If the software knows what needs to be done, let it do it, and take out a lot of those manual processes. And I mentioned the customer advisory board. If you guys have an interest in participating, we'd love to talk to you about that. We are going to keep that a closed group. We're not going to open it up for everybody. And one of the challenges, many of you probably remember the customer advisory group. You might even still be on it. We still use our customer advisory group. The customer advisory group right now is involved with beta cycles, right? And things after we've built them, not so much on the design. The customer advisory group back in the day was a phenomenal idea that was executed less than optimal. What we said is, let's get all the customers in to help drive where we're going. What we didn't recognize, and you guys will probably laugh when you hear this, the smaller, for example, the small MSP who's got 3 employees who really doesn't have free time, they're the ones that more than anybody go to every conference and they volunteer for everything, right? So what we found out was our bigger clients, and many of you on the phone are bigger clients, you guys are busy running your business. You don't have time for that shit, right? So you're not on the customer advisory group. And so what happened is we were listening to people and we were building what they asked us to build. Unfortunately, we were listening to the wrong clients. And by the way, I'm grateful for all of our partners. I don't mean that to sound derogatory. It's just, that's the reality. So it's very important to us as we build this advisory group that it's the proper representation so that the features they're guiding us on are the features that have the highest impact for you, particularly you guys as tag members, because I mean, you guys are progressive, you're in converged businesses, you know, you're doing managed services, but you're also selling hardware. I mean, you guys are our key target. You are the right people for us. And so we've got to make sure that what we're building is in alignment with your needs and not necessarily the needs of, say, a 2-person shop, which is just very different from what you guys need. So that's a high level. We'll be able to release more details later this year on that next phase of the roadmap. But with that, so we've thrown a lot at you. I understand a price change is a lot to digest. And the roadmap is a lot to digest. And I saw everybody writing notes. Of course, we'll make the slides and the recording available. But with that said, I'd love to open it up for questions, and we'll do our best to answer any questions that you might have.
Looks like we have a question right from Tom and the James on the chat.
I've got multiple monitors. I'm trying to find the
Oh, you know what? Let's see. That might.
Yeah, I don't see it. It's not in the chat to everybody.
Well, I'll go ahead and read it. It's
Okay.
Is the core software changing so that we can break a tab away to another window?
Is the core software changing so you can break? Oh, you want to take like a certain matrix and throw it on another window? That's a great question because it's something I want to do as well. We are in the process right now. I don't know if I can give you a short answer. One of the interesting things about being a company that's been around for a while, and some of you guys might understand this, is you get some tech debt, right? You've got some technology that you've had that you've got to gut it, you got to change it. What that means is you got to derail your development team from doing features and products and moving on to the tech debt. One of them is that piece that is preventing that feature from happening today. We are in the process of doing some prototyping on replacing that technology that in theory would allow us to do that. So that's part of, it's more of a technology change than it is a feature change. And it is absolutely something that we have people right now looking at that new technology for. Thank you for that question.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Other questions? Feel free to take yourself off mute and ask your question.
Hi, guys. I have a question. This is Lori.
Hi, Lori.
We currently have way more licenses than we need. Are we able to kind of right size that, or are we just?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, Lori, I'm glad you asked that question. We've run into that a lot, which has been mind blowing to me. No, we will. Yeah, so that's a great question because I said an addendum and your old contract stays in place like 99%. One of the things that we can adjust is we can adjust your user count down. Joel, were we going to talk about the mobile only tech license?
We certainly can. So yeah, another option that you'll
Yeah.
have at this point, and you actually have this option today, is a new license type that we built actually with some of the input from folks on this call, which is a limited mobile only license. So it is a license that does not have access to the desktop application. It is access to only a portion of the functionality in the mobile device. It's really not intended for, hey, I want to move all my technicians over to it. It's really intended for maybe those folks, those technicians that that only do what you ask them to do, and you only need to capture their time and whether they completed an SO or not. So if those folks you just didn't want to pay the full price, we have that ability to do that, and that is something you could add at the time that you do this right sizing as well.
Absolutely. And think cable pullers. I mean, that's, I think, the classic example for this, right? They need to know where to go. They got to put in their time. They might put a few parts in, but that's the extent of it. They're never going to necessarily be in your office doing anything. So we built that. It's a much cheaper license. And so, Lori, to answer your question, you can reduce your licenses at this point in time. You can move some of them over to the mobile only tech license if you want. We'll work with you. Yeah, we're not sitting here saying, hey, you committed to 50 licenses, you only need 30, but sorry, you need all 50. We will work with you. As well as if you want to add some, and we can talk about what that might look from a discount, but I think more often we're seeing people want to reduce. So yes, you can totally right size, and you can even move some of them over to this other licensing model, if that makes sense.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I'm really glad that you had me clarify that.
Perfect. Other questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. This is Gary. You guys hear me all right?
Hi, Gary. Yes.
Hey. James, first off, I want to say thank you very much for putting this on. This has cleared up a whole hell of a lot of questions I had and a lot of apprehension that my team has presented to me. So this is very, very useful this time today. Secondly, how quick can I get Tigerpaw on the cloud? And is that going to change the pricing from 65 to something else, or 60 to something else?
Joel, you want to take, first of all, Gary, thank you. I mean, I'm very nervous about this. Nobody likes to hear their prices are going up. We have done a pretty poor job of communicating. And I think part of that is COVID. We just turtled up and focused on the safety of our employees, keeping the help desk manned and building stuff, but we've not done a very good job telling people what we're up to. And that's my fault. That comes from me down, and we're going to work on doing a better job of it. So I'm glad this is helpful. But Joel, you want to address the question about Tigerpaw Unleashed?
Absolutely. Yeah. In terms of moving over now, so Trev mentioned that we have some existing customers we're moving over right now, as well as some new customers who are buying it. So obviously we feel strongly enough about the product that we're selling it to new customers. But some of the features that you guys have become accustomed to are not quite ready. So the two in particular that will not be ready until 21.1 are an accounting integration. And once we do the accounting integration, it will only be to QB Online. So if you're not a QB Online user,
for the first,
what's that?
The first one. Adding others, yes.
Right. So right. In with that 21.1 release, we will have the QB Online integration. So if you are using real-time integration with QB Desktop and using QB Track for that, that will not be available right away. And the other is Outlook to Journal Connect. Today, we don't have that. That will also be available in 21.1. So there's a couple of things that we needed to clean up, which is why we haven't made a big push for this. But it is something that we can move quickly to that.
And we're pretty excited that that's it, right? Otherwise, it's not like we've lost a lot of features. What we've done is we've redone some of the back-end architecture to allow us to deploy the product you're already using in the Azure cloud. So what your people are used to and how it works, the training videos, the resources, all that stays the same. We just move it over.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
Outlook part, you're saying if I moved over, because I don't care about the QuickBooks, we don't do that anyway. We're using something else completely, so that's off the table for me. But the Outlook integration, we do email our technicians, we email our clients, letting them know a service order is made and all that kind of stuff. That won't work until 2021 or
No,
21.
Outlook works, so the emailing works, the calendar synchronization works, so the Exchange integrator, all that functionality works. It's specifically if you're sending something from Outlook that to a contact that exists within Tigerpaw, it will not automatically put that into the journal and capture that in the journal.
Yeah.
So we're not using either one of those. So when can I get it?
I'll have Jenny reach out and start talking to you about getting you on the schedule. And in terms of the price point, so that there is a premium on this, and some of you who have experienced Tigerpaw Anywhere or the Cloud Jumper option that was once available, this is significantly cheaper than that, but it is a price premium in it, and the price premium is $25 per seat on top of the 60 or whatever your price ends up being.
And that's something that we definitely love to talk about and work with you on. But yeah, that Outlook, that's the add-in that we wrote in that sits inside of Outlook, and it was written to talk to a database on your network. So we're in the process of rewriting that to go through the REST API, so that way you can have your Outlook local and your Tigerpaw in the cloud, and it would still update the journal. So Joel, you'll make sure somebody gets to Gary to start that conversation?
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Gary, for asking about it, because we're very excited about it. And the way we've structured it for scalability and performance, it runs really well. I mean, and I think it's actually going to run better than a lot of the networks it's sitting on with their clients. You get that cobbler's kids have no shoes, right? Some people still have it sitting on old servers that are overloaded. So we'd love to talk to you about it.
Okay, and I have one last question. I know everybody else probably has some questions too, and I want to get off of this call. But is there any way that we can finally clean up our database? I mean, we have like 30 old employees and all this other stuff. And is there no way still to like wipe that out and make this clean, start over?
There isn't today, but that's part of the discussion we want to have with the advisory group. It's the same thing Kelly brought up to me on the phone the other day, right? She's like, we've been with you guys for 20 some years. I don't need all this stuff past 3 years. Can we archive it? The answer is no, but that is a problem that's really bubbled up. And I will tell you, I have the same frustration as you as a user. I just went through and did a bunch of personal cleanup on we had like 1,000 account groups that people had created, and we've got all this old data. So we have a similar problem. So I don't have a solution for you yet today, Gary, other than to tell you it's on the radar and it's going to be a big discussion point with the advisory group.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you for questions.
I have a question about your current integrations as well as your Tigerpaw community and what kind of resources you're putting into those existing integrations. We've had some tickets open with bugs and issues with integrations, including Outlook, one of which has been open for over 2 years. And we are not seeing progress on getting that resolved. I have some things open in the Tigerpaw community that I'm not getting feedback on. And, I know that we want to improve and grow and have new features available, but what types of investments are you doing into what you've already developed?
That is a fair question. Thank you for asking that. And we've got the right two people on the call with us to talk about that.
So with respect to investments, I mean, James had mentioned we've increased the development team by 50%. I think I'm familiar with the Outlook bug that you're mentioning. It's been around for a long time. It's a tricky one. I won't get into all the weeds on this call. What I would like to do is can I set up a call with my my new tech support manager and myself with you to go over any of the outstanding stuff you have, just to talk through those things and give you some direction on how we can address them?
Sure.
And so you understand the structure. I mean, we've really focused on a lot of changes at Tigerpaw the last couple of years. So Trev is sitting where maybe you remember Susie Cradaville. So the training and implementation team, then the customer advocates and the director of support sit under Trevor. And then we have the support department, which is also under new leadership as of the last month. We've really been working to up our game in some of our leadership side. We also added a new community manager, Mel, which is why I'm surprised you've got stuff in the community that's not getting responded to, because we actually have processes and people for that. So I'm glad you're going to be talking to Trevor. We owe you real answers. I don't have them on the call, but you should not be experiencing that. I'm sorry you're experiencing that.
Yeah, and it just
Thank you.
We are committed to resolving any outstanding issues like that. And but again, I just like to hear firsthand. So if I could, I'll reach out to you directly. And if you could have any other team members from your side on the call that could add any color or detail, I'll have the right people on my side, and we'll get a plan in place to get you.
I will add one thing from the bug perspective, because we've got, again, with new leadership in the last year, we've changed a lot of things. I think it was at 19 that had a ton of I hate to say bug fixes, but we had bug fixes. Yeah, we had some leadership.
It was over 600.
Yeah, there was a lot of little things that, we build something new and then we get focused on the next new thing and would not address anything that found in the old one, right? So one of the things that we've done is we've actually built in a couple of processes. One is allowing time after that release to go back and address things that maybe we were off on the mark or we missed. The other is periodic hardening releases, which is what 19 was. We call that a hardening release, which is, this isn't about all the new features. It's about going back and addressing all the things that people have found that maybe they were not big enough to get escalated, they're still a nuisance, or they're real bugs and pains. So that release in particular had a ton. So we're not where we need to be clearly yet, but those are the changes that we've made to try to prevent that from happening in the future.
And we were hopeful that Outlook bug was going to be addressed in that. I mean, it's been painful. We know in trying to track that one down and discover that the root cause of it. We thought we had it, and clearly we don't on that one. So, Trev, I know you're familiar with that one, but I do think it would be good for you to hear directly from them.
No,
yeah,
sure.
and Trev, I would like then to talk to you after your conversation and see what resources, additional resources maybe we haven't put on that we should put on that.
Yeah.
So is the Outlook bug is where Tigerpaw doesn't consistently send out emails?
No, that's it.
Well, I got a question. In general, how do you escalate stuff? It seems like anything complicated, it just sits until I start bugging Marcia and people like that.
By the way, Pete, it's nice to see you. I missed fishing you the last couple of years. That's one reason Trevor was brought on board, and we just had our quarterly offsite yesterday discussing how to improve that. So I'll let Trev talk to that.
Yeah, we identified that as a gap, and I had my one-on-one with my new tech support manager earlier today, and that's a rock for her too, is to redefine that escalation process, and I'm just going to say it because it's something that's happened in the past. When stuff got escalated, it was a little bit of a black hole in the past. Stuff would kind of go there to die. And then unless, customers like yourselves would find the right itch to scratch within Tigerpaw, it would get some attention again. So we're redoing that whole process, how we're communicating back to customers with any open SOs. So that's already changing. So you'll get updates literally every 2 days until you tell us to stop giving you updates. So, but at the same time, we've set internal SLAs too with the QA and the dev team when it goes there. So they've got SLAs back to the support team, so we can honor SLAs back to our customers. So not fixed today, but very close to being resolved.
Yeah, that's my afternoon. This afternoon, calling back in, starting over on a really irritating email problem. So, would
you mind? Can you include me on that if you're contacting somebody? Who are you going to reach out to?
I'll just start with tech support and give them one more shot at it.
Okay, and just copy me on that, and then we actually have an end of day meeting too, and I'll just make sure it's got some visibility.
Okay. All right, we'll do.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'm proud of the fact that I'm still accessible, and many of you will reach out to me when you need something. But we got to do better so you don't need to reach out to me. And it's not that I don't want to hear from you, but that's, Trev, you're right. That's how we do, is be honest. Yeah, they were disappearing, it seemed like, in some of those. And the new development side wants to fix those, and the new support side wants to do better. And so it's early in the process changes, but we are changing those processes.
Thanks.
And I would say, James indicated that, it's great that you can reach out to us. Trev's putting processes in place that will improve what we're doing. We're never going to be perfect, and if we do mess up and you do need assistance, please reach out directly to any of the three of us who are on this call directly.
Yes.
To say, hey, we need help. And some of you have done that recently, and we don't mind that at all. We'd prefer that we were doing a good enough job, as James said, that you didn't have to, but we don't mind getting involved to help get something unstuck.
All
To me,
right,
that's
more
where that
questions?
relationship piece fits in, right? We want to take care of you. You know, we're manning the phones, we're doing things, but it doesn't mean we're perfect, and we've got a ways to go on these things. But the relationships matter. And if you get stuck and feel like our team is not doing what it needs to do, don't think twice about reaching out to me directly. Please don't. I mean it. I don't look at hopefully you guys look the same way. It's not a nuisance. It's an opportunity to make us better and to make you happy. So, you know, even people will often, if they write me, it's usually, hey, I'm so sorry to have to get you involved. No apology necessary. Just shoot me an email and say, hey, I've been struggling on this ticket for a while. Can you look into it? I will get people jumped on it right away. I'm happy to do that. And we'll continue to try to improve our processes and our people so you don't have to do that. But again, don't have a second thought reaching out to me.
Hey guys, this is Kevin Livel from Advanced Network Systems. What about quote revisions? The capability to do quote revisions. I know it's something we've asked for years. And is that on the roadmap sometime soon?
It is absolutely on the backlog, and as James said, as when we start coding for next year's releases in the next three to 4 months, we're going to be getting customer input to make sure that we prioritize and understand where that fits in the priority order. Trev, that's not on the quote enhancements for 22.2. I mean 21.2, is it?
It's not 21.2, but it is part of the dialogue on quoting recurring services.
Yeah, it's not in
Thank you.
22, but it's part of that one that James had mentioned in the
Right. Sorry, I knew there was somewhere in there.
Quoting needs a bit more love, and that's part of it, Kevin. You're right. We run into the same challenges. So that is part of that bigger dialogue on the quoting recurring services.
Yeah, there's a really good chance that'll be in the next release after it'll be the 22.1 release, the first release of next year.
With hopefully more quote enhancements. It's time to add a little bit of love in there. Thanks, Kevin.
More questions?
By the way, regardless of a price increase, we probably should set up a quarterly or every 6-month call like this. Whatever is good for you, Brian, and the members. Just a dialogue, even if we don't have an agenda, because we want to hear this stuff and talk about where we're going and find out the experience with you guys. So I guess I don't know what the pacing is, but we're happy to commit and participate on more regular structured calls if it'd be helpful to everybody.
Yeah, don't forget, James, that under normal years we would have had multiple opportunities to be in front of these folks in person.
That is true.
Yeah.
I look
No,
forward to
I think
everybody.
that's a fantastic idea. So whenever you're ready, you just tell us and we'll get it on the calendar.
Well, and if the members say, hey, we haven't heard from Tigerpaw or we got some questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us too. But are there any more questions today? Mark's got one.
Hey guys.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, James.
Hi, Mark.
Long time no see, guys. Nice to see your faces.
You too.
And thank you so much for getting this out here in front of us. In my business, roadmap is huge because it allows me to guide my products and services that we're evaluating. And obviously some of those connectors are parts of decision-making processes we're making as well. So if anybody's available for an offline, or if we can shoot you an email about some of the products that we're evaluating to see if they align with some of the things that you're evaluating as well, that would sure be helpful for us for roadmap. Just an offside note. Also,
absolutely. I would say that let's get you and Trevor connected to have a dialogue.
That's great. Happy to do it. I mean,
Joe, you're scribing these, right? You're writing down the to-dos, I think.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So far as what you said about getting together a couple of times a year, I think that would be absolutely valuable. This is a great forum to get everybody together and focused on one thing, rather than try to do it at a trade show when you got a million things to accomplish. I love trade shows and I love getting together, and I think that networking and relationship building is invaluable. The other thing tag groups are really good at, in my opinion, is we kill at the quick survey. You guys need an answer to some question you're wondering about. If the tag folks are willing to throw a quick survey out to the members, everybody who uses Tigerpaw will probably respond pretty well. I know for my key core products that I sell and my key core relationships like Tag, when I see a survey come across, I prioritize that and give it 5 minutes of my time just to get it back. So I think you guys could use that as a tool if you wanted to among the Tag folks.
I wasn't aware of that. I love that because there's a lot of times we just want to get a litmus test. That can be really helpful, right?
Right.
Are we way off base or is there something here? I can see that. So Brian, if you're open to that, I think we'll take advantage of that based on Mark's.
Oh, no, absolutely. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no problem. James, quite frankly, with lots of other products we've dealt with, including products we sell and support, as you know, we're kind of in the software business, and we sell and support point of sale software in a big way, and also manufacturing software. It would be interesting to just understand where you guys are going with your cloud platform. Sorry, I haven't had enough coffee. The obvious thought is as the cloud platform matures, the premise platform will kind of be put to sleep at some point in the future. And I know that's down the road several years because, you know, that's the same discussion as the pricing discussion we had today.
Right.
But obviously it's going to change, and obviously there's got to be a migration at some point. We all get it. And we're happy to do it. I mean, I'm in the process of upgrading to 19.5 in-house because we're a few releases behind, and we had some infrastructure stuff we had to do to get there. So, I mean, we're doing what we got to do, but it's been a long time coming, and we're anxious to be there and be a part of the future releases here. So just keep us appraised of when the separation gap starts to occur between features being available in cloud versus premise, so that we can plan and we know when to make the jump. You know, for those of us who are not as early adopter group as some of the others, we're just looking to, you know, put that into our business plans because this stuff takes time, and because Tigerpaw is such a key part of our business.
Well, Mark, I'm grateful for your directness in putting it on the table like that, and it allows us to talk about it. That's a struggle we're having internally right now, right? Because our desire is to have feature parity, right? Because we don't want to force everybody to go through that pain. Yes, if everybody was on our cloud platform, that would be really good from our perspective. I can't tell you how many support issues, you know, we'd be able to provide better support if it wasn't for the fact that a big chunk of support is environmental, right? And so if we control that, then our team can focus more on solving your bugs and your problems. So on one hand, we want people to go there. On another, we also don't want to break the parity so much that existing clients get really angry and don't want to stay with us. And there's also some technology things like one of the things that we haven't talked about today that we'd really like to explore is a new reporting engine. You know, Crystal's long in the tooth. It's hard to get somebody to customize reports, right? So we're looking at some options like Microsoft SQL reporting services. The reality is, I think if we add a new reporting engine, that will probably be cloud only, just because of the technology limitations, not so much that we want to make it an artificial separation. So we're very mindful, and I hear what you're saying. And if I got anything out of your thing is it's please keep us informed so we're not surprised. And that's a fair, great comment. And I'm glad Trev and Joel are hearing that, because communication has not been the strongest, especially in the last year. And while we're not trying to deliberately deprecate that, and by the way, because we don't have, you know, we're not at a point yet where we feel comfortable moving a lot of you to the cloud. There will be a day, but you brought up a valid point. There's probably some time in the future where there's going to be some really compelling things. It's like you're going to have to make the move over, and we need to give you enough heads up on not just where, but why, I think.
I agree. And I'm there with you, James. I mean, we'll be there either way. I mean, we want to get there now. On the Crystal side of the fence, man, we've got Crystal programmers in house. One of our other products uses Crystal, so it doesn't bother me a bit. I have a love-hate relationship with Crystal. I love,
as most people do.
Yeah,
Hey,
Roger
Mark,
that.
do you guys have any capacity where you would like to do some custom reporting for fees?
It would require us to understand Tigerpaw data structure more, but we can have an offline about that.
Yeah,
we do have
if you're interested, we can talk offline, because it's getting harder to find good Crystal people. And that's again why we need to
talk about what Crystal and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
well,
Crystal's a stinker.
Joe will take a note. Yeah, who knows? And I don't want to derail the conversation, but anytime somebody tells me they're crystal developers, I got to ask.
Yeah, I got a couple of them on staff and we can do it. And that's allowed us to do some good things with Tigerpaw too. And that was one of the things we were looking at when we were jumping to 19. Okay, what do we have to redevelop? What are we going to break? You know, that kind of good stuff.
I get it.
Because obviously, anytime you customize, you get into that fun. Two other questions I had. Obviously, along with the roadmap, the integration roadmap is huge. Are you willing to share what your concepts are or what your ticklers are for web integration? I'm assuming you're looking at being able to have some sort of a web store to be able to do retail e-commerce from our Tigerpaw inventory. Is that the concept there?
That is the concept, right? So Trev is, are we able to say who we're integrating to yet, or is that something we're still not releasing?
Until we do something formal, I would say not just yet. We just got some NDAs and things floating around, but we do have they have a very large presence, and it is a third party, and they've got thousands of customers. So
yeah, so when we've got the finalized deals, we can share that. But you're exactly right, Mark. We're not going to try to build an e-commerce solution. We are going to integrate. In fact, that's part of, you talk about our web strategy. That's one of the things we are looking at. So for example, we built all this marketing functionality inside of Tigerpaw. Some people use it, some people don't. That, by the way, if you want a side note, that was driven by a lot of Robin Robbins members. That was a great example of listening to the wrong customers and spending a lot of resources building something that didn't benefit a lot of our customers. So as a company, we're looking at now is, well, does it make sense in the future? Like, do we want to expand that? Or is it time to say, look, let's build an integration to MailChimp and an integration to HubSpot, which is what we use, and call it a day and not try to be everything to everybody, right? Best of breed, like the e-commerce. Why try to reinvent the wheel and build an e-commerce solution from scratch? Why not find a best of breed solution that's a reasonable price solution for our clients, but then build a nice tight integration? So as you said, it's looking at your price book in Tigerpaw and your pricing structure, and you determine what's available online and what that looks like, but then it's a seamless integration between that. So your customers can order parts and they're fulfilled in Tigerpaw, and you don't have to have anything in the middle. So that's our philosophy, is kind of reevaluating what are we really good at, and what are the things that others do better, and can we just tie into them?
Okay.
I don't know if I answered your question, Mark. I feel like maybe I went sideways on you.
You did a little bit, but you covered some important points, James, so it's fine. The integration concept of going out and getting the stuff that's mainstream that we can access, the MailChimps, the Customer Connects, the HubSpots, all that stuff is huge.
Yeah.
The Alexa thing sounds cool, and the concept of using it, if we can get it right, sounds incredible. I love what you guys are doing with development. I love that you're spreading your resources. I get the concept of the multi-silo problem. All that stuff makes sense. We do e-commerce with our point of sale and some of our distribution software. So we've been where you're going. If anybody wants to have a chat, we've got 20 years experience there. Happy to have it. We have integrations to Magento. We have integrations to Shopify. We have integrations to Woo. So we've got a variety of that stuff already done, and we've worked with those players. If you guys want some input from what our support teams have worked with and had to deal with APIs and development and revisions and releases, we're happy to share.
Hell yeah.
That'll have to be offline, of course.
Yeah, we'll take that offline, but yes, we will talk to you. Thank you, Mark.
And then the only last thing I had was the one thing that you can solve for me personally, and probably several other tag members, is with the right integrations, we get Tigerpaw to be our, and I'll use the term I hate, single pane of glass. We want Tigerpaw to be the one thing we look at. If one more vertical vendor calls me and tells me they have a single pane of glass for me, I'm going to throw up. And if I had to look at all the single panes of glass everybody tells me I could use, I'd have Coke bottle glasses. So that's my only thought on integrations. I mean, when I talk to people, no matter who they are, I say, listen, does your stuff integrate with Tigerpaw? Because Tigerpaw is my core platform. And if you can't talk to Tigerpaw, we can't do business. So, I've been pushing that on the other side of the fence with players from backup to RMM to, firewall to antivirus. And, you know, everybody wants to tell me, hey, we got an API, but I don't have the development bandwidth to go out and try to do both. And if you guys are going to fill those gaps for us, that's going to be huge in you cementing your foundation in our businesses.
Well, we are committed to building out the API, and we are committed so that others can write to us when they're ready. And we're also committed to more resources to build more integrations. So like that survey you mentioned, we're going to be asking you guys, because we got a list of them. And we want to, you know, the new continuum integration, I was glad that we got that out where that's at, but there's a number of them, and we've got to figure out the right order for them, but you're going to see a lot more integrations. And Mark, thanks for your supportive words and your loyalty with us. It means a lot to me personally. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Well, it was a great time, James. We got to about an hour and a half, so that tells you something. That tells a lot about this session here. So
it does, Brian, and we're happy to have offline conversations. So if you get off and you go, oh man, I wanted to ask about this, we're partners. We're partners. And I've said, Brian, you've heard me say it many times. That TAG is my favorite partnership of all the partnerships I have, because it's a partnership. It's a relationship. And so anything that we can do to support you guys, just let us know. Just reach out and talk to us. So we're here to help. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. The feeling is mutual. Obviously, we've been friends for a long time, which has been phenomenal. So again, want to thank James, Trevor, and Joel for their time, and a lot of exciting stuff obviously happening at Tigerpaw. Again, want to thank all of our members for their time. Again, get in touch with us, get in touch with Tigerpaw, whatever you need, we're here to help you. We look to be, again, in person with each other over the summer. We mentioned that we're going to have our NCSD meetings launched in June, July, and August. Tigerpaw will be present, as well as Janet just arrived in Dallas today. We will know by the end of the month the location for our convention in November and the dates. So Tigerpaw will obviously have a great big presence there, as they always do. And they're always been a great partner of TAG, and always been very supportive of our members and our organization. So thank you everybody for your time. Have a great rest of the week, and we will talk with everybody soon.
Thank you, everybody. And I do hope to see everybody in November. Thank you.
Thank you.